So what you see now is a list of all the clients assigned to Wo Wong, right? And this is just fake rooms. I don't know if there's such thing as a 44M, but basically red has not been seen. Yellow is in process on the bottom, and then yellow's in process, and then red has not been seen yet. Then you see basic identity of in terms of sex and age, but then this is going to be interesting. I really want your feedback. You see a care score. We essentially have assigned how hard it is or how challenging it is to take care of someone. So the idea that someone's a 10 that's like fully dependent and 0 is fully independent, and you can imagine everything in between. Yeah. In my cousin's place, I felt, especially the new ones, not the people that are taking care of the same people all the time, but sometimes I get pushed to a different floor or have to cover. They don't know what to expect as they walk through the door. And I think, at least for a physician, that's really kind of scary. I want to know at least what the chief complaint is, at least if something's going to be thrown at my head. So the idea is, okay, there is a general score. People know 1's going to be easy and 8 is going to be hard. And so sometimes as a caregiver, I might say, I'm not really ready to see 8 right now. I want to see a 2. So I go see my 2, right? If there's an emergency, of course, I'm going to see, but the thing will signal if there's emergency. So right now it's just like, it's the beginning of the day. It's 6:05 in the morning. I can see whoever I want, right? So let's go into Betsy Ross. So I just click. You're not going to be seeing my clicks. And so the idea is that I see that she's a 4.5 usually. It's actually an elevation of what she normally is. She was normally a 3, but she's a 4.5, right? So something's going on. The system is not set up to say, though, to alarm. We say that if there's a difference in care score of 4, which is very arbitrary, then Nina is going to be going to see it on her panel. But otherwise, we just know there could be some changes. I start my time, right? And immediately I see that it says risk. Why does it say risk? Is because there's been no urine in 24 hours, right? So if I go to the bottom, I'll see that any caregiver is just going to note if someone has a stool or urine or they vomited. And frankly, if you vomit in our system, we can always adjust it. You tell me what the number is. If you vomit more than once, then it's going to go risk. That's why someone vomiting twice in a day. Maybe once you vomit, but not twice. The same with stool. We said 1 stool every 3 days. I learned that from Kevin, I think. Sometimes it's not an emergency, but you don't want an older person impacted or, getting in that direction. And then the system will reset if they meets the criteria. So at the end of the day, right, if someone has already met the urine criteria, then it will just show urine. So look, it says, but let's say I'm the caregiver and I say, oh, shoot, there's been no urine. But then I look into the bedpan or the toilet and they actually have urinated, right? Then I change this to 1. And then you'll see that this status goes back to normal. It's an alert, but it's not necessarily an emergency yet, right? So what you see on this panel is basically notes from the provider. They don't have to do this, but I said last time still hasn't brushed teeth. So maybe the next caregiver knows to brush the teeth, right? Or before I said Happy New Year because I just want to see if the thing worked. You can say whatever you want. It's very informal. I know there's a lot of informal communication. The status is normal, so routine. And then here we have routine. We have 3 types of charting. One is charting when the client first comes to assisted living. We decided in the first 3 days, the caregivers would just chart their observations and their level of effort in caring for the client. And after 3 days, so it would say active. After 3 days, it would lock and the care score becomes fixed. That person always lives at a 3. And then it will say routine charting with the idea that after the first 3 days, I kind of don't want the caregivers to chart unless they see a change, right? Why should they always address mobility or grooming or dressing? Because they do that every day anyway, right? And only when it's significant would they chart. You'll see that we also have this middle panel. If there's ever an event like fall, unconscious, lethargic, I just gonna put it there. If that is pressed, and I'm not gonna press it, then the 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 Kevins of the world would be signaled, right? Or you would know it's an emergency, and then that thing would not say routine anymore. It'd say, everything would go to risk and it would go to notify. It would say, hey, it's time to notify. You don't have to do anything, but you'd have to notify. And then besides event though, we were thinking, not sure exactly how you do it, but wouldn't be nice if, and maybe one is how you get a star, you could message the family, I'm thinking. Everything's okay today. And we could have some drop downs, like everything's okay, so people don't have to type it out or something. And then the same thing with the call. Maybe they call the family, maybe they call the supervisor, maybe they call the doctor. These are all options. They all also can change it. Some of the messaging and the calling is a little bit complicated. I'm not really sure how you're going to do it. If people are using their own phone, we can figure that out. I think for me, I more need to know later what you would want in terms of the messaging. So before I go to how the score gets done, any comments to this point, to the point where I'm going to show you how to do the score?